So welcome everyone to the 18th knowledge session of JPNR. The whole JPNR family gives you a heartwarming welcome, Nandini. We are great to have you here. I would request Ritika to introduce our chief guest.
Hello everyone, I am Ritika Kejriwal. I would like to welcome the sweet and gorgeous girl. Oh, I believe one of the smartest girl too. She has secured All India Rank 1 in her CA final examination in July 21 and All India Rank 31 in her CA intermediate examination. Hailing from Murena, Madhya Pradesh, she is an India Book of Record holder for securing All India Rank 1 in her CA exams and being the youngest CA in just an age of 19. She did her articleship from PwC and currently working as an associate consultant management in Boston Consulting Group. So before that, I would like to call Niraj sir to say something about it.
Hi Nandini.
Hello sir.
How are you?
I'm great sir. How are you?
So, I'm absolutely good. And when Kritika spoke to you, so she told me कि sir Nandini तो physically Calcutta आ सकती थी. मैंने बोला कि I think this is my mistake that I have not offered her that you come physically to Calcutta and यहाँ का रसगुल्ला, यहाँ का पुचका और यहाँ का जो अपना खास चाट है वो हम तुमको enjoy करवाएं. But nevertheless, so Calcutta is not too far. So once again, thanks to you that you have accepted our invitation and speaking to all our odd 80 articles from Calcutta. And let me tell you that we have our flagship from KSG and Company, head office in Dhanbad, and we have office across India. So today articles from all the offices of KSG and Company have also joined. So I think this is the great opportunity for, in fact, including me, that to learn and to listen to you that at this age, the kind of achievement you have added in your profile, I think this is mind blowing. And I read one of your article in LinkedIn that तुमने जितनी भी achievements को इतने कम एज में हासिल किया है, इसके कारण तुमको क्या-क्या तकलीफ हुई है. So that I found really very interesting कि हर aspect का positive तो है, but there is negative side also. So I think this is a very open platform, Nandini. You in whatever way you want to communicate with all our team member, and they all have came with round of questions, and they have a lot of anxiety to understand from you that what is the reason behind all this success. Today you are working with BCG. BCG is one of the top multinational consulting company of the world. In fact, one of my schoolmate today is MD and partner there, Nishan. So in fact, a couple of days back, I was with him in Bombay. So when I was speaking to him, then he was telling me all this, that how they are working and how they are consulting their clients and all. So I think the topic which we have kept for today's discussion. So this includes 3 parts: your article set, your exam preparation, and what about life after that. So my sincere request to each one of you that please listen to her, ask your all the strategies what you want to learn from her, and I think we have sufficient time. Today she has also taken out time, especially for the JPNR family. So let's let's utilize this opportunity. So once again, Nandini, welcome. Over to Kritika.
Thank you.
So before moving forward to the session, I would request a few words from Nandini.
Hello everyone. First of all, thanks to entire JPNR family for having me, inviting me, and giving me this platform that I can share some of my experiences to students, to newly qualified chartered accountants that can help them in their CA journey and post CA journey. So heartfelt thanks to entire JPNR family. And one more request for the session that I wanted to be really interactive, so that you can put your doubts, whatever you have upon your mind, and I will try to answer them in a way that really helps you all.
Thank you so much. We would really keep that interactive and it will be interesting for everyone and a very knowledge oriented one. So moving forward to the first part of the session related to articleship. So my first question would be to Nandini, how to get best out of the work we do in our articleship in the whole of the 3 years.
Right.
Over to you.
Divided into two parts, right? When I started my articleship, and I think ideally when everyone starts their articleship, the focus should be on two things. One is how to leverage and correlate the things we would be learning in the articleship and the knowledge we would be acquiring during the CA final preparation, and also applying the knowledge that we have already gained in the CA intermediate. Second goal should be to how to actually improve your personality. What are the extra effort that you should put for your personality development? So firstly, talking about the first part, like how to leverage and correlate the theoretical knowledge and the practical knowledge and exposure during an articleship. Since I have done my articleship from audit, so let's say if I am auditing financial statements of a private company, so accounting standards would apply to it. If I am auditing the financial statements of a public company or a listed company, then Indians would apply to it, right? So what I always try to do is, whatever I'm doing, how does it relate to my CA final or my CA intermediate theoretical knowledge, and how can I best correlate it so that I can do best on the ground, as well as that would help me in my CA final preparation. So during my articleship, like I have really done India's 116 modeling for 3 of our clients, and really I have built it from the scratch. And now that model is being rolled forward for those clients from year to year. During my articleship, it was the first year of India's 116, and that's why I got the opportunity to build that model. Now, how did it really benefit me? When I was building that model, I was also having my FR classes side by side. So I was actually trying to make the best use of it in the way that whatever I am doing practically. So let's say if my client has 20 to 21 leases, and so I would really try to understand how would I be able to apply this practical exposure when I would be reading my CA final syllabus, when I would be reading India's 116 during my CA final prep. And during those last 4 to 5 months, when I was actually revising my financial reporting book, I was really able to relate whatever I have done during my articleship, and my entire revision was so smooth. It was just an example, but yeah, the same thing applies to whatever you are reading. So if I take the example of taxation, so how would you apply the taxation provisions in the real life? You would be first reading the provisions, then you would see, okay, how can I apply these provisions for the best use of my client, for the tax planning, or for helping finding in some loophole that can help him getting some tax benefits, etc. So first step is to actually understand the provisions, and we do that during our CA final preparation as well. But where the difference comes, during our articleship, you would be doing whatever you are required, whatever you are told to do by your principal, by your firm. If you are required to read a provision, you have to do that. If you are required to read an index, you have to do that. But when you take a lens that these things would also be useful to me during my CA final preparation, during those 4 to 5 months, for becoming a very knowledgeable and actual CA, then your keenness to study new things, your keenness to apply theoretical knowledge in a more comprehensive manner to the best of your client would increase. And I'm telling you, when you have that theoretical knowledge, and I'm sorry, I think there's some echo issue. Yeah, now it's fine. So I was telling about the first part, which is like leveraging and correlating whatever you are doing in your articleship with the course that you would be reading in CA final. And that thing has really helped me a lot during my CA final preparation, during my articleship experience, whether it is India's, whether it is a taxation knowledge. Whenever my principal gives me a new task, like Nandini, you have to do a tax audit, or Nandini, you have to do the audit of the different line items in the financial statement, let's say PP&D or the investment property. I always, open the ICA module and check, okay, how does it relate to my CA final ka syllabus? How does it relate to, me becoming a CA in the future? And whenever I do that, I find that I always get more interested to learn new and new things. So when I was doing tax audit for the first time, and I saw that there is a complete chapter of tax audit in my audit book, it really interested me a lot that okay, I would study it with more enthusiasm. This is going to help me during my CA final preparation. This is something that would really help me in the future. And when you develop that kind of interest and the fitness, that someone is not pushing you to do the work, it's you who is pushing yourself to do the work, then I think you would really come out being the like one of the best article during an articleship. Like not in the eyes of everyone, but in yourself only. You will realize that you have really learned new things. You have really made the best use of your entire articleship exposure. Second is around the personality development. So during the CS course, I think most of the people don't do the regular college. So we are not actually given enough opportunities for those personality development aspects like communication, interaction with the senior management, or leadership opportunities and all that. I think during articleship, you might try to develop some of these aspects in yourself. So let's say if you are going at a client place, or let's say you are getting a chance to interact with your senior partners in the firm, and even if not, you should try to grab some opportunities to communicate with some senior management of the client, or maybe with the senior partners of your firm. And how can you do that, right? So first is like making others feel that people can trust you. How I did that, I used to ask my principal or the manager that I want to do some of the key areas. I want to do some of the important areas of the audit. And he won't give me easily. I have to make him feel like he can trust me. I do have the knowledge. I can handle the client. I can present before the client. You need to first, develop that trust within your team that people can give you the work that requires more responsibility, that requires interaction with a larger level of management. Usually during audit also, we used to interact with mostly the operational level management, but I was able to, improve my communication skills there because I wanted to. I was always looking for the opportunities wherein, I would get chance to interact with more and more people. I would get chance to keep my points before the client. I would get a chance to actually enter into a very intellectual arguments with my senior partner. So usually in articleship at big fours, or some even like it depends from culture to culture. Usually articles interact with the managers, and then there are some senior partners, and usually there is not much interaction of the article with the senior partner. In order to cross that bridge, in order to go to that path, you really need to push yourself every day. How can you improve yourself, and how to develop that trust? And I think during my articleship, I have really worked on it a lot. So like not many of the articles in my batch at the time had get their auditing areas reviewed from the senior partners, but I was one of them. Reason being, okay, it was somewhere, I think it was the matter of luck as well, the kind of projects I'm getting. But my manager trusted me a lot, because whenever I was presenting before my manager, he started developing the trust that I do have the complete in-depth knowledge of whatever I have done, and I can confidently put it over like before the client, before my partner, and I can prove my point. And for the same reason, actually, I was given many opportunities to actually attend the senior level meetings, or to actually go in some very intimate level of meetings wherein not much people of the team are invited. So yeah, these are the two things that you should consider while you are doing your articleship to make the best out.
That was really informative. And yes, the more we explore, the more we learn. And the best thing I learned from this is that opportunities will come knocking our door only when we keep finding them. So the next question from Nandini is that what are the pros and cons of choosing a third year of articleship in a firm, or if we go for an industrial training?
So I personally believe that everyone should go for industrial training. Well, why I didn't go for industrial training has a different reason, because like I had that in mind. If I go for industrial training, maybe I would have to delay my attempt, and there was a chance that I might become the youngest CA of India if I clear in first attempt. So it was a very selfish kind of reason that I didn't go for industrial training. But yeah, talking rationally, I think if you do industrial training, you come out of the shoes of being an article to actually serving as a more responsible position in an organization. You really get to know how the organization works. You get the industry exposure, how the business as a whole looks like. On the study part, I think as far as I have spoken to my friends, so there is a lot of work during industrial training, and usually they give you like 3 to 4 months leave only, but it is manageable. So there's one friend of mine who had scored a rank, and he also went for industrial training, but she also told me that it was a very hectic schedule. Like she has to really study like 3 to 4 hours in the morning, because there was no time left for studying in the night or after coming back from work. That managing the study schedule really becomes difficult if you are doing industrial training. But from the learning perspective, I think it's a great opportunity to grab during your articleship tenure. One is like you get to know how the business as a whole works. Secondly, you become more responsible from being an article to serving a role in the organization. And I think third benefit, which is also I would say a strategic benefit that people look for, is once you become a CA, most of the time you have a PPO from the firm from where you have done an industrial training. So yeah, that's also one of the benefits. But yeah, like third benefit would be useful when you have done an industrial training from a really great organization. So it makes you feel that okay, you have a job offer secured with you after you become a CA. So yeah, I think these are the benefits. And on the con side, I think there is only one con, that you might have to delay your attempt, or you might have to put some extra efforts to manage your study schedule during the time.
Thank you so much. Now, I would ask the audience if they have any questions related to articleship or industrial training. Yeah, Ishika.
Hi, Nandini. This is Ishika. So my question is, how much preparation should be completed before we decide to go for industrial training? Because it gets hectic later on. Am I audible to you?
पोस्ट है
hear me now?
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, we're here. Am I audible to you?
Yeah, you're audible.
So my question was, how much preparation should be completed before we decide to go for industrial training?
I think so. Your taxation subject would be left because that has to be taken like very near to your 4 to 5 months exam date. So if we keep aside the taxation and the audit subject, then I think you should have completed like four subjects before going to industrial training.
Okay, thank you so much.
4 to 5, yeah.
Anyone else?
Hello, Nandini.
Hi.
This is Vijay Sutta. My question to you is, it so happens many times that we haven't prepared anything even after 1 year of our completion of articles. So, what is our next plan? How would we cope with such situation? And is it fair decision to think that we can go for industrial now after such a situation?
So I would say never is the late. Even the 1 year has been passed, you can still start preparing for your CA final. You can start with financial reporting as a subject. It's a very big subject, so it should ideally be started 1 or 1.5 years before your finals, your CA final exam leaves. You can take subjects like SFM course now. Like these are not larger duration subjects. If you start them now, you will complete SFM or the course in 2-3 months. So yeah, you can that's what you can do if you have not still started studying till 1 year of your articleship. From the industrial training perspective, I would be honest, you might have to delay your attempt by 6 months max to max. But yeah, I think you should go for industrial training. The kind of exposure that it gives you, the things you learn there are really the word.
Yeah. I
Just,
know.
just give me 2 seconds. Yeah, please tell.
My question is, how to choose companies for industrial training?
Yeah, a good question. So as far as like I see the profile of my fellow CAs, my fellow friends who have gone for industrial training. So you can go to you can go for an industry. You can also go for a private equity company or the investment banking company like Yes Bank. Yes Bank provides for the opportunities for industrial training in private equity IB. I think there are also opportunities for industry training and consultancy. Like BCG is currently hiring CA articles for industry training. And other than this, some banking companies also hire CA articles for I'm not sure the kind of work, but yeah, I think they would be hiring in some finance related activities. The industry or the consultancy firm or the LV or the private equity, I think decision regarding the same would depend upon your personal interest. Usually, students at this point of time are not much sure about like where their interest lies. At least I didn't know at that time. So the best way you can do is you can discuss with your seniors how each of these field looks like. Like investment banking is basically the sell side, wherein you would be pitching the investors to make investments in certain companies. So you would be like a middleman. There would be a company who wants to raise the investment. You would be pitching to some qualified institutional investors or maybe some qualified buyers to make investment in that company. So investment banking is basically the sell side. In the private equity, it's the buy side. Private equity firms actually make investments in the startups, in the companies in which they see the potential that it might really grow by a good percentage in the future. Industry, so industry would depends like whether you are doing the industry training from Nestle, from HUL, whether it's FMCG company, it might be iron ore manufacturing company like Vedanta. So I think industry too it would completely vary कि आप किस industry से अपनी industry training कर रहे हो. So best ways to evaluate कि how does each of these look like? What are the pros and cons of each of these? So I can talk about consulting. You know, in consulting, you would come across different types of business models. You will actually be solving the problem of clients. Like their profit has been declining. What is the reason for the same? Making a turnaround strategy for them. Their revenue is declining. Making a turnaround strategy for them. They might want to enter into a new market. Helping them making the entire strategy and also implementing it. So this is the kind of work you do in consulting. The pros would be, I would say, you have the exposure to different industry, you interact with senior level of management, and overall it gives you great exit opportunities even like after becoming CA, because you get the tag of a good consulting firm, and also people know that you have exposure to different business industries and the kind of work you do. If you do your articleship from IB, there are good opportunities of getting post qualification jobs in IB companies like Kotak, JP Morgan, Yes Bank, like who are actually much known for IB or the private equity firms. And if you do a job in industry, so it would help. Like you would have a preview from that industry, from that company, might be HUL, ABG, or Nestle. And second thing is the overall industry training experience on your CV really benefits you a lot when it is being shortlisted by the stellar companies like BCG, Bain, McKinsey. When you like for these companies, the first step is getting your CV shortlisted. And I have seen that articles who have done industrial training really gets advantage over the articles who haven't done the industrial training. So yeah, one benefit of industry training would be that. But like there is no straight jacket or vanilla answer to say, okay, this is how you should decide from where you should do your industrial training. One would be to evaluate how everything looks like, what are the pros and cons. Speak to your seniors, speak to people who have worked in these companies, and then decide, okay, where your interest lies. Or maybe if you are able to decide this is something you don't want to do. I mean, there are two things to determine anything: the things you want to do, things you don't want to do. If you don't know what you want to do, then decide what you don't want to do. Then I think it might make your decision easier.
That was really great. Any more questions from the audience regarding articleship and industrial training? Otherwise, we will be moving forward to the next part. Yeah.
Hello, Nandini.
Hi.
My question is, do you feel like doing yoga, meditation, or any physical activity to manage study pressure? And have you included in your articleship period?
Yeah, so I am a kind of fitness freak person. So during my articleship, I used to do exercise. And you know, whenever I kind of get any opportunity to go to a sports club, to participate in a sports activity or a marathon, I always do that. On a regular basis, I'm not always able to continue exercising or yoga, but like there might be a lag of 10 days, I'm not doing any physical activity. But then I would definitely go for a walk at least. Like during my articleship, I always used to go for a 10 to 15 minutes walk after having lunch, after having dinner. So I think it's really very important. During the CA final league, like 4 to 5 months, I used to play badminton on a daily basis, and I used to exercise a bit in the morning and take a brisk walk in the evening. But physical fitness is really important to be mentally fit. I also used to do meditation during my CA finals. Like meditation doesn't really mean that, you know, looking at a point and just looking it for a while. I think for me, meditation was diverting my mind to something other than studies. So sometimes I also used to watch films. Sometimes, like during my CA final exam weeks, I have even watched Family Man series 2 because the COVID again, and I was completely frustrated. Like I can't sit on study again, wherein I was studying for continuous 4 to 5 months. So for me, these things are also meditation. It's just that you should know how to strike a balance between these activities.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So moving towards the best part of today's session, the exam preparation. So the whole of the preparation strategy we will be dividing it in two parts. One would be the wholesome preparation for the 3 years, the tuitions and everything. And the second part would be the last 4 to 5 months before the CA final examinations. So firstly, I would request Nandini to give a wholesome strategy for the 3 years, like from tuitions to managing articleship with tuitions and everything.
Yeah, so order to in order to have a robust strategy of 3 years for a CA finals, it's important to take out some time and write that strategy on a paper. Like, this is the milestone you want to achieve after 1 year of articleship. This is the milestone you want to achieve after 2nd year. The milestone can be in terms of the number of subjects for which you have completed the classes. It might be in terms of, let's say you have completed like 1 or 2 subjects, but you have done your first revision for the same. It's very useful. It's very important to define some short-term milestones in order to achieve the end goal. When I started my articleship, I started planning that, okay, I would take SFM as the first subject, then I would take cost, and then I would purchase my FR classes. Side by side, I was also evaluating which teacher would be best for me, which suits my style of study. So, like, there are few questions that you need to answer. One, the first step would be to defining the strategy. Okay, these are the classes you want to complete by first 6 months, 1 year, 2nd year. Second question that you need to answer is, okay, which subject to take first, like the order in which you would be buying the subjects. The best way to do it is speak to speakers, what has been their experience, what are the mistakes that they have done. So, just taking an example, I took SFM as the first subject, but to be very honest, when those 4 to 5 months leave started, it was completely vanished. I really didn't even remember the single formula that I have studied in SFM. So these things happen, but there is also second side of it. If you will not buy classes, if you will not do classes just for the thought that okay, 3rd year aane tak sab kuch bhul jayenge, then at the end you would be left with so many subjects to do that you might feel little bit demotivated, pressurized to study. So you have to start. So there is always a risk that whatever you are reading, you might forget it at the end of 4 to 5 months exam. So yeah, so as I was telling, second step is to define the order in which you would be taking the classes. Third is to determine from which teachers you would be purchasing the classes. And don't purchase a teacher's classes just because so-and-so ranker has purchased it, or just because your senior advises. Ask your seniors, see the YouTube videos, which teachers are they recommending, then watch a YouTube demo of the teacher to understand if that teacher's style matches your style. If the speed of the teacher matches your speed of study. Make the evaluation before buying any classes. And one question that we all have upon our mind is offline versus online. I would say it completely depends on your style of studying. Like for me, offline classes was a little time consuming because I have to go to office, then waking up at 6 and spending the time in traveling and taking classes there where I'm half sleepy. So it was not making sense to me. So I have always gone for online classes during my CA journey. Once you have determined the teachers from whom you would be taking the subjects, the fourth step is to execute whatever strategy you have made. Now, execution is very difficult because your articleship is also going on. You have to devote like 8 to 9 hours a day during an articleship for whatever work you are doing. So the best practice that I used to follow is complete your classes before going to office. So I used to study the classes between like 6 to 9 or maybe like 7 to 10 depending upon the time at which you have to depart for office. And if I have some spare time in the evening after coming back from office, then I also used to revise whatever I have read in the classes, or maybe I start a new class. That's how I was managing. But since work was also a priority for me, I wanted to make the best out of my articleship. There were times when I was not able to complete my classes, when I was not able to study during my articleship. Now, in those times, I used to take out time over the weekends. One of my senior advised me that consistency is very important in these 3 years. If you leave your habit to study really like 30 minutes to 1 hour, then it would be very difficult during the exam weeks to actually start studying for 10 to 12 hours a day. So what I used to do, even if I was very tired, I have come from like a very bad day working from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. in the night. I try to take out like 10 to 15 minutes, 20 to 25 minutes for revising whatever I have read. Maybe, I'll pick a chapter that I like, I start revising it. So just to ensure that my habit doesn't fade away. My habit of reading is still there. So this is something I have done to maintain the consistency of studying during my articleship. Some of the tips that I would like to give here would be, there are times during an articleship where there is not much of the work, or I call it the lean time. Like December might be one of that months, or like depending upon in which field you are doing an articleship. Like in audit, December, like November and December used to be a much leaner month as compared to others. So I used to plan my classes in a way that I would be doing more classes in November and December. I would be putting more efforts towards my revision. I would plan my schedule in a way that I can make most out of the November and December period. And during the busy seasons also, I used to, develop that understanding with my manager that I need 3 hours in the morning to complete my classes. I don't want to compromise on that. So yeah, I think developing such understanding is really good and helps you to save from arguments in the future. The next thing would be to plan your GMCS and advanced ITT leaves. So I plan my advanced ITT and GMCS I think 6 months in advance so that my manager knows about it. I am clear on it when I am going to take these leaves so that there is no argument on this. If your exam is in May, I would say try to plan it near like November or December. That might really help you to maintain the consistency between your CA final exam weeks. And you will get the like 1 month in spare. Like during your GMCS and advanced ITT, as such, utna koi load nahi hota hai. You would be attending the training for 5 to 6 hours. And then you can actually devote some time for studies. And it would help you to maintain your continuous 6 to 7 months ka pace, like connecting it to your 4 to 5 months exam weeks. So that is something you can you can start planning strategically from now. Like I figured out after talking to several seniors of mine, they advised me, okay, that's how you should plan your GMCS and ITT, advanced ITT. So yeah, broadly, that's about it. One more thing that you should remember during an articleship, our focus is on completing classes and you might miss out on revision. But revision is very important part that cannot be avoided. So specifically for subjects like FR, which is a very big subject, or subjects like taxation, law, try to plan some revisions over the weekends so that you don't forget everything, whatever you have done in your classes. You are able to recall, you are able to remember, and that's why I was also emphasizing that you try to correlate your practical exposure and your theoretical knowledge so that you are able to recall and remember whatever you have read in the classes at the correct time whenever it is needed. Now coming to those 4 to 5 months of exam weeks. Assuming that you would have planned it in advance, in the beginning, try to push yourself for extra studying hours. I mean, in those 3 years, you have literally, I would say, you have literally forgotten how to sit and study for those 12 to 13 hours. If I talk about me, like मेरा जो habit था लगातार पढ़ने का during CA interview, it was completely gone away, and it was becoming difficult for me to continuously look at a book and focus on it for like entire 13 to 14 hours. And when I was looking at the vision that I wanted to achieve, I felt that 4 to 5 months won't be enough. I need to do something extra in order to achieve whatever I have planned to achieve. So my exams were in May, and I started my revision in December. So in the December, I was actually giving like 30 to 14 hours a day. So it's like I was sleeping at around 2:30 or 3 a.m. and I was again waking up at 8 a.m. in the morning. In the beginning, I think I have really been hard with me because I believe that if you make extra efforts in the beginning, your end becomes smooth. And I really wanted to keep my mind very light near my exam time. I don't want to actually go through all the pressure thing during my exam, because I believe that if your mind is light, if you are very relaxed during your exam, you are able to score well, you are able to perform well. Considering that it's a final exam, paper would definitely be at a good level, it would be difficult or it would be above average. So I would say plan yours 4 to 5 months in a way that you put extra efforts in beginning 2 to 3 months, and then try to take a good sleep in last 1 or 2 months, so that you have a good balanced CA final preparation experience. After you have completed your first revision, which would be done in like I think 2 to 3 months, plan a mock test paper for each of the subjects so that you know where you are lacking. It can be in terms of a presentation, it could be in terms of lack of conceptual clarity, it could be in terms of time management. But it's very important to plan giving a mock test paper after a first revision so that it's not very late when you come to know about your mistakes. After you have given a mock test paper, make a summary. What are the mistakes you are doing in each of the subject? What is your strength? What is your weakness? And how can you actually turn your weaknesses into strength? I think, first set of my mock test paper in somewhere in March, and it was really very bad. I was like barely passed. And then I figured out where I was lacking, and it was the presentation skills where I was lacking. My presentation or disclosure was not in line with what institute want us to do, like in terms of the disclosure that we require in FR, the way they want us to present in exams. It was not in sync with the expectations. So I worked on my writing skills. I also worked on my time management. I then again sought several other mock test papers, and then I was on the line, or I would say I was quite satisfied with whatever I was doing. So mock test paper is a very crucial part of those 4 to 5 month exam days. And also when you're doing a first revision, mark the questions that you're not able to do. So let's say you solve 100 questions in FR in the first revision. In the second revision, you should not solve more than 40 to 50. Then only you can plan 2-3 revision in your CA finals. If you will do the entire syllabus in every revision, then you cannot complete the CA revision. So you have to plan in your first revision how you are going to reduce your revision time in second, third, or the fourth revision. So always mark the questions which are difficult for you, which are easy for you. And so let's say you did 100 questions in first revision, 50 in second, then in third revision it should be 20 to 25. That's how you can plan your revision in the most efficient and effective manner. And that's what I also did. Now coming to the last 1 month before exam. So I think you can revise all the subjects in last 1 month if you have planned your revision in an efficient way. Now, one of the strategic thing you can do is, so our first paper is financial reporting. When you have planned your 8 subjects revision in last 1 month, try to plan it in order that financial reporting is the last one. So my exam was on 5th July, and I decided that from 1st July I would only be studying FR. Reason being, FR is the first paper. If it goes well, then it boosts your confidence. And if your confidence is boosted, then I think rest is the knowledge that you have acquired, but it's the attitude which matters when you are sitting in the exam hall and solving the difficult questions. So my goal was that my first paper should really be very good, and I would devote sufficient time revising it. So I planned like 4 days for my FR, and before that, there was an order which I was following. So last paper is IDT. So I thought that it would be a huge gap if I keep IDT as the first subject for revision, and then it would be the last paper in the entire exam schedule. So before FR, I had planned IDT. Before IDT, I had planned I had planned DT. Before that, I had planned the optional subject. So there was an order which I was following. So let's say if my last paper should be my last subject, second last subject in the revision, because the last should be the one which is the first paper. Like as I give you the example, try to understand in such way. So if you have the first paper as FR, then your last subject of revision should be FR. so that it gets connected. And before that, it should be the reverse order. It should be the same order of your exams. So in the first, in the last month before your CA final exam, your first subject of revision would be SFM, then it would be cost, like in the order in which your exams would be there. So yeah, that's broadly how I planned for the wholesome journey of 3 years in my articleship and also 4 to 5 months exam.
Thank you. I would just request in one line, what would you say that which effort or which thing helped you get all India rank 1?
I think these are there. One
Sorry, your voice was not audible.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
I would say like philosophically, it's only the one thing, which is attitude and passion towards becoming CA. And technically, I think it's the mock test paper that really helped me to score well in exams.
Good.
So can I ask you how many mock test papers did you write?
So I would say this is not comparable because during our time COVID came, so I got 1 month extra to write mocks. But yeah, I think at an average you can write 2 to 3 mocks, not for every subject. Like you don't need to write mock test paper for the optional subject, like which is an open textbook assignment. But for the like important subjects, not important, but the critical subjects, like for FR, you have to time management, for taxation, for cost, for SFM. So these are some of the subjects for which I literally would have written 2 to 3 mock test papers. And also for audit as well, because we know audit में आपको कितने भी concepts पता हो, you understand everything, but at the end there is a factor which is rectify factor, which every teacher also has, except he has to do. So yeah, for audit also I have written I think 2 3 mock test papers.
You just said 15 mock test papers.
2 3 mock test papers.
Okay, yeah, fine.
Yeah.
Another question. What was your just like how did you manage your stress just before the exams, like 2 to 3 days before your exam, or what was your experience and how did you manage that?
Like stress was at the top because my health was also not well. My exams were in July and in the last week of June, I was having very low blood pressure. I was in huge tension what's going to happen during my exam schedule. But as I said, it's the attitude and the passion. I used to say it to myself, I have done the best. I'll get the best. I have to keep the strength. It's like some difficulties come before something good is going to happen. So there is a saying in Hindi ना, like ये तूफान आने से पहले की शांति टाइप ऐसा कुछ. तो ये सब चीजें खुद को बोलनी पड़ती हैं उस टाइम में मोटिवेट करने के लिए. And I also used to do that. My family was motivating me. Everything would be fine. And as a student, we always feel like यार कुछ negative हो रहा है. Is that a sign of something that something bad is going to happen? But I think like it was not the case with me. I think I was giving mental strength to myself that really helped me to overcome my physical weaknesses at that time. And I have also shared it over LinkedIn. Result आने से एक दिन पहले my photo also broke. So that is also a bad sign in our culture, but that didn't happen. So I think if you put your hard work, if you have a good positive attitude for yourself, then I think all these things cannot do anything wrong to you.
Yes, I have seen that post that you were fixing your photograph just before your result. Yes. Another question. Please put a light on how to study the theory subjects, like specifically audit and even costing is a theory portion only nowadays. It's case study based, especially audit and law and all these subjects.
So like few things. The 2 things remain the same. Take classes, or if you don't want to take classes, depends on you. Like have a conceptual understanding of the subjects. then start practicing writing it on the paper. And I would tell you what I used to do in audit. So in audit, it's not important to remember the complete line that is written in the book, but there are some keywords that you should remember. So I used to highlight those keywords in my audit book, and whenever I was revising the audit, I don't revise audit while opening the book. I used to close the book, and then I would like scribble on a plain paper. Okay, the topic was internal controls, and okay, these were the concepts in the internal controls. If the topic was audit procedures, I would scribble on a paper. Okay, one is test of details, one is test of controls. Under test of detail, these are the sub audit procedures. Try to scribble on a plain paper so that you know what you already know, and you will get to know where you are stuck in. So let's say if I am scribbling on a paper, okay, this is the theory, this is the theory, but I don't remember what were the subpoints in that concept. I don't remember how to execute. And I would open the book and see, okay, this is something that I didn't remember, and that's what I should learn. So there should always be a value addition whenever you are revising it every time. So first, revise efficiently. Don't revise while the book is open. Revise while the book is closed. Second thing is recalling. So whenever I have read a theory subject, not the theory subject, but even the practical subjects, whenever I would go to my bed, I would think whatever I have done in the full day. I would try to recall some of the topics. I would see whether I'm able to recall or not. And I'm telling you, my passion was at that level. If in the night I'm not able to recall something, I would literally open ISEGA module in my phone, and I would start seeing, okay, what was the thing I forgot? What was the concept that I missed? That should be the level of dedication that is required at the time. And that really helps you to efficiently remember the things. If you would see what I am doing, I am actually reducing my next revision time by doing this. Recalling is very important in any theoretical subject. So I think, yeah, these memorizing techniques really helps you a lot. For cost, I believe module theory, like understand the theory first. I think it's quite understandable, and you can write it in your own words as well. In cost, what is more important is, so let's say there are 7 or 8 principles of a topic, and under those 7 or 8 principles, there would be big paras of 3 lines. So remember those 8 principles. I mean the wordings of those 8 principles, and just understand what is being written under those 8 principles. So you can write all that masala in your own words. The key heading should be the same. So yeah, that's how I plan for my theoretical subjects, so that I am able to grab it in less time while capturing a bigger chunk of syllabus.
Okay, now I think our audience will be having a lot of questions. So now over to the audience. Anyone, any questions?
I think Siddhi wants to.
Yeah, Siddhi.
She is sent over the Zoom, I think. You need to unmute her.
Yeah, just a second.
Hey Nandini, hi.
Hi,
So
Siddhi.
I'm glad that I get this opportunity, especially now because I have my exams in November 22 only. So actually, I have all the subjects under my grip, but except this economic law subject. So I took this subject on Wednesday only, and I was totally blank. And in the evening only, Neeraj sir called me and said that we have a meeting scheduled with Nandini, and I was like, oh, thank God that I actually needed this. So I just wanted to know what was your approach with regard to this economic law subject, how you proceeded with the same from the scratch.
Yeah. So in the economics law, like at my time, I think there were 6 chapters, and 3 subjects, 3 chapters were the same as the corporate and other allied laws, and 3 chapters were new. So for those 3 new chapters, what I did, I started studying it by myself only, tried understanding few concepts. And I would be frank, I was not able to grab much from that because these are completely new topics and you are reading it for the first time. So it's okay if you face this. But then I think there would be a case study digest book, right? And there would be several questions in it. So I think that worked for me. So I began doing all the questions from that case study digest. So I was getting 2 benefits. Firstly, I was learning the concept in the way that, see, it's easy. our mind works in a way that when you have a question, we try to solve it. So when I was studying a question, when I was reading a question and I was searching for the answers, then I was also learning the concept. Okay, if this would be the question in the exam, or if this is the question, this is the provision that I am going to apply. Or I would frame it the way that you can learn a thing when there is a need to learn. Like when we say आवश्यकता ही आविष्कार की जगदी है. So when you have a problem in your mind, then you are able to invent a solution for it. So I have done like economics of preparation from the case study digest book. I used to read the question. I started searching answers for it in the book. And when I was searching for the answers, I was also trying to analyze and understand, okay, this is the provision I'm going to apply. That's how it relates to the problem. That's how it relates to the case. Second thing is, I was also developing the habit or the practice of searching for the answers in the exam. So although the institute gives us 4 hours for this paper, I'm telling you 4 hours or like somewhat less only when you will solve the paper. Like my paper ended exact at 4 hours. I was not having any 5 or 10 minutes extra for this paper. So you need to develop that habit of searching the answers in the book. Although we have the book, and I think that's why institute gives us 4 hours. It's easy to write an answer when you know it in your mind, but when you don't know it in your mind and you're searching for this answer in the book during exams, it really takes extra time. And I'm telling you from my experience during the exam, it's not that you will always find the answer, and sometimes you have to build the answer basis on basis your knowledge. So I have written like 1 or 2 answer basis whatever I have read, because I was not able to find it in the book. So yeah, that is completely okay if you're blank at this point of time. It happened with me as well. Try, like give it a try from the case study digest book. I think it should work for you.
So I should first read the ICA module exactly, and then I will go for this case study book, right?
I would say maybe after reading 1 chapter from ICI book, you can try to do a case study digest. I think there are some index that has been shared by teachers wherein they have actually marked which case study belongs to which chapter of the ICI module, right? So you can map it and you can try to solve the questions for one particular chapter and see if you are able to map the questions and answers, if you are able to analyze the provisions. And then you will get to know what is the best approach for you. Yes, Riddhi, you want to ask something? It seems like Riddhi and Siddhi are sisters. Riddhi Babe, Siddhi Babe.
Twin sister.
Oh.
Just like you and your brother.
You're absolutely right, Nandini. Hi, Nandini. One of the question is, since you mentioned that writing test papers are very important, and my mentor Nia sir has always guided us to write test papers only. So my question is whether writing mock test paper is more beneficial or writing year paper is more beneficial for this time just before 3 months.
Sorry, writing mock test papers
or writing year papers.
Last previous year's papers, she's saying.
Okay, got it. I think you should do both. When you write the previous year test papers, the exposure to how questions would look like in a real exam. Because in the mock test papers, sometimes there are very tough questions that the institute won't usually ask, or there are some very easy questions that are also never asked in the exam. So, for having a feel of the real exam paper, you should definitely solve previous year test papers. But previous year test papers would be limited, or it might be that some chapter would have been deleted, or some syllabus would have become outdated. So, since we have lack of some previous year test papers, we go for solving the other mock test paper. So, I mean, both are important, but yeah, priority should be given to previous year test papers.
Thank you.
So, next question. Yes.
Hello, Nandini.
Hi.
My question to you is, how do we decide that which elective paper would be suitable for us?
Sorry, your voice.
Hello.
Yeah, you are doing.
My question to you is, how do we decide that which elective paper would be suitable for us?
I was also facing this problem when I was choosing the selective paper. So I think the criteria that I applied was, I think the reason is that the economics law paper is quite moderate every time. If we talk about RM paper, sometimes it's very easy, but sometimes it's like out of the box. If I talk about like GFRS, so GFRS was something in which I was not interested. Like I don't wanted to go for it. I don't wanted to read the international provision, so I didn't go for it. But for the other papers, I literally looked at the past year results. What has been the results? The paper has been very tough. Paper has been moderate, or the paper has been like very easy. So economics law literally seemed to be a very safe choice because the paper has never been so tough or never been so easy. So that's the basic criteria I applied to myself. But I think rationally, you should definitely see the past year pattern. Second thing you should see is whether you would be able to read that subject or not, whether you have interest in that or not, like the financial and capital markets. Many of my friends have taken that, but I didn't do that because I was not interested to read that at the time. Although it's a scoring paper, but yeah, I was not interested to study. So first criteria should be what you would be able to study, and second should be the past patterns, the scoring patterns in that paper.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Hi, Nandini.
Hi.
I'm Sakshi. And my question to you is that what should be the combination for our subjects? As in, we should take a theory and a practical together when we prepare for the 3 years of articleship, obviously. Should it be a practical and a theory, or how many subjects should we take together?
So during those 3 years, I mean, when you have started your articleship, you should ideally take the practical subjects first, because it's the habit that your mind is able to remember practical things for a longer time as compared to theoretical subjects. So it's okay to go for practical subjects continuously. I also did that. I took SFM, then I took cost, then I took FR. But for the 4 to 5 months exam leaves, I think picking one theoretical and one practical subject for a revision would be the ideal scenario to go for.
Yeah. Next question.
Hello, Nandini. Which subject you target to achieve maximum marks?
I achieved maximum marks in SFM.
Okay, so what should be our target? Like whether to go for SFM or like which subjects where we can score greater marks or maximum?
Okay, so you want to understand like which subjects are more scoring, in which you can plan for exemptions or a good or better marks, right?
Yes, yes.
So I think FR is very scoring. Most of the time, questions are from module, from RTPs, from MTPs, past year papers, and concepts also remain same. To me, I think FR was one of the more best scoring paper that I targeted. After FR, direct text is scoring. Like every time I see, even if the paper is difficult, people get good marks in that subject. Besides FR, I believe SFM could also be scoring, but like for SFM, it would be dicey because November 20 and Jan 21 paper were quite tough. So it was difficult to score in those papers good marks. But yeah, at an overall level, FR and DT were quite scoring paper for me, and I think for students in general as well, and also the law paper. It's so like law is interesting to read. Everyone likes to read law, I think. And law में actually you can do some prioritization. Like company law का section सबसे ज़्यादा आता है. Then you have IBC. You have few chapters of other allied laws. So if you plan it in good manner, like the ABC analysis, if you get good writing practice, then I think it's quite reasonably easy to score better marks in law. It would be like FR, law, and direct text.
Thank you.
Thank you for the replies. Any more questions? Yes, we have 3 more questions. Back.
Hello, Nandini. My question to
Hello Nandini, my question to you is like what should be our strategy while preparing summarize notes to cover the syllabus one day before our exam and how to like revise 1.5 days before exam?
So in the last 4 to 5 months, like as I told, take a theory and a practical subject at a time. So let's say you have 4 to 5 months for revision. You can target to, let's say, revise 2 to 3 subjects in a month. The thing that I used to do is I used to make a planner, day-wise planner. So let's say on 1st December, I would have completed like these 2 chapters revision. On 2nd December, I would have completed half of this chapter revision. So I used to make a day-wise planner so that at the end of this month, I should have completed this subject. Like I can't just go blank and say, okay, by this month, I should have completed this this subject without even writing it down on the paper, the number of chapters that I'm going to do, the time I'm going to spend. So always make a planner for every subject's revision. Second thing is, as I said, try to reduce the time of revision by prioritizing. These are the questions that you are going to do in the next revision. These are the chapters you are going to do. Apply ABC analysis. DT is very vast. So see some YouTube videos and decide, okay, these are the chapters that I'm going to cover in every revision. And these are some of the chapters that I would cover in third revision if I have the time to do so. Because in DT, I would say 60 marks paper come from the same chapters, and the rest of the 40 marks would be like miscellaneous chapters, and you cannot cover everything. You have to prioritize. So yeah, like go for ABC analysis for each of the subjects wherever it's possible, and solve the mock test papers in the last 20 to 25 days. I would say you would be able to devote like 2 to 3 days per subject to complete the entire one revision in 1 month. So select plan it in that way. So what I did in the last revision, I literally put down the name of the chapter numbers, the section number in case of law that I'm going to revise in those 2 to 3 days for each of the subject. And that really helped me to complete my revision within the targeted timeline. So yeah, like making the timeline would be very important. I had a like diary thing wherein I used to note all these things. So you can also maintain some, maybe a diary thing or a note or a notebook thing wherein you can mention all the key points or all the key chapters names that you're going to revise in the last month. Overall, I would say stay positive, have a positive mindset, do meditate, do some sports activity to keep yourself fresh during your exam preparation. Yeah, that's all I think I did during my 4 to 5 months exam.
So thanks. I just wanted to ask one more thing. You said about ABC analysis. So in which like first, second, third division we should apply ABC analysis, because most of the people take ABC analysis as selective study. So please put light on it.
For me, I did complete revision. So for my first revision, I think I studied every chapter. People can apply ABC analysis in first division only when they are very short of time, because in that case they don't have any other choice. Ideally, you should plan for ABC revision like for ABC analysis in your third revision or maybe second revision to start figuring out what should be your A or B priority and the C priorities. Because at the end, you cannot read everything. The syllabus is very vast. So yeah, ideally it should not be first division.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to hear. So next question from the audience. Yes, Sandhu.
Hello, Nandini. My question is how can we present our answers in best way during our exams?
So it would be different for theory. It would be different for practical. For me, what I followed was I tried to align my presentation with the institute answers to the extent as possible. For theory papers, you can watch some of the YouTube videos of rankers of the students who have got good marks at the subject level. You can see their tips, how they have written the answers, what is the way they have followed. Overall, like for the theory subjects, I have developed a pattern. Like my every answer would have a pattern. The pattern that I used to follow is I used to write 2-3 lines about the provision where I used to break the detailed provision into bullet points because it's very boring for examiner to read the entire paragraph with no spaces. So always present your answers in a way that examiner do not get bored. So I used to break it over the bullets, have like good amount of spaces between each of the bullets, and it looks easy to read. Second thing, then I like do the analysis. Okay, what the problem or what the case is saying, and then I would give my conclusion. Okay, here is the conclusion. Yeah, the provision has not been complied. So and so are the consequences. So you should develop a pattern for your answers so that you have a certain thing upon your mind. That's how you're going to proceed. For the audit, I think it's mainly the keywords and your conclusion that really matters a lot. So in audit, there would be a case and it would be given that do you think the auditor has done the correct thing or what other things the auditor should have done? So then you will write, okay, as per so and so essay, the auditor should do so and so things. There would be some keywords, you can highlight those keywords. And then at the end, you will write, okay, as per the relevant provisions of essay, auditor has done correctly or the act of the auditor is ethically incorrect and so would be the consequence. So just develop a pattern for each of the subjects so that you don't have to think much during exams. Practical maybe it would vary DT and have different presentation pattern. And that's why I was saying mock test paper is very important. So as to get a hang of how to present an exams, develop a habit of presenting more disclosures in less time. So it would come with practice. But overall, I would say try to align your presentation with module, IC module.
Thank you. Request for the next.
Hello, Nandini. My question is, as many of us have CA final exams due in November 24, and we are taking class now. Let's say we are taking first class of SFM. After completing it, we will take FR class. When we completed our FR class, we totally forget SFM class. So how we retain all those classes after 3 years?
I think it happens with everyone, like it happened with me as well. So there are two things you can do. You can, if you have time, you should continue revising the subject you have already read. So let's say you completed your SFM and after 1 month you took FR. So after 1 month, there would be some weekends over which you can plan your revision. So over the weekends, plan for the revision of some chapters of SFM which are important with their weightage. But it's difficult to plan the frequent revision during an articleship and develop this habit or keep this habit over the period of entire 3 years. Second, so I think it would depend upon you. I was not able to do that personally. I started revising SFM in the first year, but I think I didn't have enough time to revise it in the second year because I have some other subjects as well and I have to give time to those subjects. The second thing you do is you can take fast track classes of SFM in the last 4 to 5 months. So I think it could be completed in 10 to 15 days. Because in fast track they tell you every concept. Only the difference is that they will not be solving enough questions that they would be solving in a regular class. So if you want to revise your concepts, you can do it via fast track classes. And once you've completed your fast track classes, you can go back to your regular classes. You can go back to your regular classes, books, like question solutions, and you would be able to understand the same. So yeah, I think fast track might be a good solution because this solution I applied for SCMP. I have forgotten the SCMP thing entirely, and I got fast track classes of SCMP in December, and I think it really helped me a lot.
Thank you. Actually, I didn't understand that fast track classes may be such useful. Thank you for giving this.
Yeah, even I also had like some first mindset fast track classes. But when I purchased it for myself in CA final, I found it really useful for me.
Actually, previously I have very negative view about fast track classes, but you totally changed my concept. Thank you.
So just ask, like you told about fast track classes. After taking the whole classes, for the revision, we will be taking the fast track classes.
Yeah.
Yeah, not directly the fast track classes.
Yeah, I mean, it completely depends on time you have. So I have seen people like who have done entire articleship from IDT, from DT. So they are like, we don't need regular classes. We can do it from fast track classes. So it is reasonable for them because they actually know the provisions. They have applied it on the ground. So actually, they don't need to spend entire 3 to 4 months over the regular classes. So it completely depends on your learning. It completely depends on your level of knowledge.
One more question here, like which all subjects we can do self-study, like we can do without classes?
I think audit can be done without classes. Optional is the one. Law can also be done. I have seen many people who have done law by themselves. DT, IDT, I personally believe we should take classes because these are quite critical subjects involving the history of provision, several case studies. But if you have done an articleship from DT or IDT, then I think you can go for studying myself.
Okay. Next question, anyone from the audience? Yes.
Hi, Nandini.
Hi.
So my question was, since I started with my FR lectures, so how to decide how much time should we dedicate to each subject?
So you have started your FR classes, right? And you want to decide how much time you put to each subject.
Yeah, so that I complete the course on time by November or December. I have my exams due on May 24.
Okay. So I think best way is to do it. So let's say if you have a goal in your mind, your exam is on May 24. So maybe you might have a goal that you want to complete all of your classes by November 23. Then do a back planning. So let's say you want to complete all the subjects by November 23. Right, take a timeline as November 23 and then do the back planning in the sense that, okay, November 23, last 3-4 months, I would be studying IDT because usually everyone takes classes at the end. Then you will say, okay, then I would start my IDT classes in July 23 or August 23. Before that, I would be doing DT classes, which means I would be doing my DT classes from April 23 or maybe like May 23. Before that, let's say you say, okay, I would be completing my law. Then you would say, okay, from Jan to March 23, I would be doing my law classes. So if you will do a back calculation like this, then you will realize, okay, is there any time, like, would there be any short timing? Would there be some extra time? And, if there would be chances that you might be short of time, how can you manage your time between some of the classes? So that's how I used to do that, because you can never be sure what time is required for each of the subjects because it varies from person to person. You might be very good at FR, but you might face difficulty in SFM or vice versa. And then you need to change the proportion of timing you would be giving to each of the subjects. So do the back calculation, see where you are short of time, where you have extra time, and accordingly manage that.
Thank you so much.
Hello, Nandini. My question is that the exam timing is only 3 hours, and I believe that doing the mock test and revision will help to make best use of these 3 hours. But I want to ask that is there any other different approach to make the best use of these 3 hours as we have lengthy papers?
Sorry, your voice was a bit low. Can you repeat?
Okay, let me repeat. Can you hear me clearly now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, the exam timing is only 3 hours. And I believe that doing the revision and mock test paper will help me the best use. But is there any other approach other than this to make the best use of these 3 hours?
Yeah, so like for me, the paper has always been for 3 hours, 15 minutes. I mean, that is also a time, right? There are two ways to utilize those 15 minutes. One is actually reading the entire paper. The second would be reading particular question and start developing the answer for that question in mind, or maybe little bit scribbling on the paper. You make the structure. That's how you would be solving it. What I used to do is I utilize that time to understand the question broadly, to prioritize. Okay, this would be the first question I would be doing. This would be the second, and this would be the third. I would analyze it in my mind whether it is a tough paper, it's an average paper, or it's a simple paper. Because once you realize that it's a simple paper, then usually it is going to be lengthy. Like our FR paper, I would say it was quite doable. It was average paper, it was simple paper, but it was very lengthy paper. It was very difficult to complete that paper on time. I was stuck on first question for like beginning half an hour, and I realized that I am now short of time and I have to cut down some of my disclosures in the next question. So yeah, utilize the 15 minutes very wisely, understand the level of paper, prioritize the first question, second question, third question that you'll be doing. If the paper is very difficult, then those 15 minutes are also for you to calm down yourself. This paper is not just difficult for you, it is difficult for everyone. Like our audit paper was very difficult. It was like out of the box. And everyone was like, it's like a PL certificate to them. Then you have to calm down your mind in the beginning 15 minutes is difficult for everyone. Even if it's a difficult paper, how you are going to approach it. This is the simplest, this is the question I really know very well. In our audit paper, in one question, there were 3 parts to it. And there was not a single question in which I know all 3 parts. Then also I was thinking, okay, which are the 2 best parts I know for each of the questions. So I mean, for those 15 minutes, plan your 3 hours in those 15 minutes. That might actually help you to solve the paper on time in efficient and effective manner.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions from the audience?
Hello, Nandini. So my question is, sometimes students go for selective study that if that topic has come in last examination and the chances of it has reduced for upcoming attempt. So can you throw some light on this too?
I think it's completely subjective. Like I have seen both the situations where a question has come in previous exam and it has just been repeated in our exam. So just taking an example, in the JPNR 21 FR paper, there was a question on financial instruments with the loan repayments, and the exact question was asked in July 21 exams. But also there were some questions that were asked in May 2018 ka paper, and then the question was asked in our paper. It was a segment reporting question. So the question came like after 2 years, after 3 years. I mean, it works both the ways. Like never do your planning in a way that, okay, this is the question that came 2 years ago, that's why it's gonna come. Or this is the question that came back in the last attempt, not gonna come. So don't plan it that way. Have the conceptual clarity, be ready to face any type of questions in the exam. I think you have no control over it, right? You can just analyze, okay, what is the overall level of the paper, or this is the kind of question that institute keeps asking.
Okay, so one last question I would wish to ask. Any other challenging phase in the whole of your CA journey which you have faced and you have come up, like how did you manage that and you get up for now?
I think it was around November 2020. My exams were in May 21, and I realized that many of the things are left. Some conceptual clarity is yet to come. Many revisions to go. How am I going to plan over it? And there was a lot of office work on me. Although I have aligned it with my principal that I want leaves on October. I leave from October, but there were some misalignments. And actually, I won't say he was wrong. If I would have been at his place, then I would have also wanted my article to help me, because I was handling some of the key areas on that assignment. So as you become senior in your articleship firm also, you are given bigger responsibilities. That also happened. So I think I was facing a big challenge at the time, because the kind of relations I have with the client, and then at the another side there was CA final preparation, the main goal of every CA aspirant. So that was a challenging time, and how did I overcome that is by prioritizing few things. So I supported my principal for extra 10 days beyond what was aligned. And after those 10 days, I draw a line that I want leaves. I want to prioritize my studies now. I can't support you more than this. But when I came back from my exam leaves, I thought that things would have gone worse. But actually, my principal said to me, Nandini, I understand you were in a bad situation then. And if I would have been there, maybe I would have also done so. So I mean, it's the level of understanding that you develop with your team really helps in future. because articleship is not just for work, it's not just for, you know, just a regulatory requirement. I mean, it's the time to actually make connections, build connections with the clients, with the team, develop good relationships and all that. So yeah, at the time, it was a difficult time for me to actually balance out both the sides, your studies, your office.
Okay. So any more questions from the audience?
Hello, Nandini. My question is that, hello, Nandini. My question is, an average student should target both groups or single groups each attempt?
I think it's a very subjective question again. Like, I have spoken to people who are like, they can't give 8 papers in a row. It's very hectic for them, or it's very overwhelming for them. And then there are people who say, we want to clear it in one go. We don't want to study again for 6 months. And also, if you have the goal for being a ranker, then you have to give both the groups together. Because ICI gives rank only when you give all the 8 papers together. If you're giving group by group, then you don't get a rank. So it completely depends on your goals, on your capacity, on your stamina. Like, there is no right or wrong answer.
Okay. Any more questions for the audience?
Hello.
Hello, yeah.
Hi, Nandini, Anjali this side. So my question is, like, while you're still in the stage of your class, completing your classes, there are days when you don't feel like doing a class. Maybe you're very tired because of work, or you don't want to face the screen because we are having online classes. So what I prefer to do is I just open my book, especially cost, because cost was the first subject I took, and I start reading a random page, not a random page. Like, I start reading a chapter, I go through 2 to 3 pages, or I start reading one sum. I don't try to memorize that or like go in detail into the concept. I just read through the chapters. So is it beneficial?
Have you taken the classes?
Yeah, I have taken classes and I have completed cost.
You completed cost, and after that you were going to.
Like, I have completed my course subject and I'm doing FR right now. I've also completed SFM. So while doing FR, there are days now I'm tired because of work and I don't want to do FR class. Maybe because of headache, I don't want to see the screen. So what I prefer doing is I just open up my course book and I start going through the chapters, or I start reading one chapter. I just read. I don't try to memorize or go into detail. I just read. I just try to brush up the concepts.
So when you read it, you actually conceptualize it, or you try to bring some insight, like take out insights from it, or you just read it? Because
like, yeah, I did my classes maybe 8 months back, so I don't remember anything. So my main focus is to I try to remember like what I try to recall what I had studied.
Got it. So yeah, it's helpful. I think that's what we do in the beginning. Like, once the whole subject has been managed, and you start and you open the book, I think every subject looks like this. You are just reading, you're just trying to brush it up. Even I would say, when I was doing my first division, I literally don't do it from the perspective that I should remember this completely from the perspective of writing. I try to do that from a second review. So yeah, like from the first division perspective, your focus should be to brushing up your concepts, to build understanding of the concepts, and to actually have the hold of all the different concepts that you could be using to solve the question. That's completely fine. I just heard that you are reading it along with your FR classes.
Yeah.
So you are not. So you don't get interest while you are in FR classes.
No, there are times, like you are doing a class continuously since the last 3 months. So you start, after a point of time, you start losing interest in that subject. And to build up your interest in studies, you have to change your subject. Like, I feel I have to change.
God.
for that purpose,
Yeah, for that purpose, it's specification.
so that I don't waste one day. Because I don't want to study FR today, but I don't want to waste my day also. I have to study for half an hour or 1 hour. So I open up the course book and I start reading one chapter.
I think that's a good habit. That you are not wasting your time and you are brushing up your previous concepts.
Thank you.
So I have one question from the audience, but he is hesitant to ask this. So basically, in the whole of the CA journey, every CA student has huge dreams, but sometimes it happens that in the middle of the journey, like we lose the interest or something or the other happen that maybe we are not able to manage the pressure at articleship and studies and all those. And people do also like they think of quitting and not to give the CA final exams and something. So just the question is basically how to gain confidence in that at that stage and how to come up with that.
See, if you have come around your articleship, which means you have already completed like half of it. And since you have come to here, which means you would have some rationale for doing CA now. So I think whenever you're having a self-doubt kind of thing, just go back to the reason why you choose CA, why you think of doing CA. And now since you come here, this is your goal. Like there's no point in coming back when you've already done half of it. Then try to think of the futuristic things. Once you become a CA, these are the things you would be able to do that you have planned to do. And I think on the confidence part, if it is about studying, if it is about your academics, then I think mock test is a good way to boost your confidence. If it comes to work during an articleship, so I think it could be taking more responsibility with tasks that are being termed as the key areas or maybe doing some key things. So if I talk about myself, I for me the second year of my articleship was very glorious because I was doing some of the key areas of audit. I was presenting before the clients. I was involved in some tasks which usually not everyone gets chance to do. So try to grab such opportunities to boost your confidence and to make yourself feel like you are made for it.
Yeah, thank you for that. That will really be helpful. Moving on to the next, the final part regarding job placements and the guidance regarding that. So I would be loving that the most. And before going to the specific questions, I would request you to tell how to choose the options which we have after CA and how did you prepare for the placements and how did you prepare for the interviews?
Right. So after becoming CA, broadly you have I would say categorized options. One is going to the industry. Second would be going to consultancy. Third would be investment banking, private equity. Fourth could be practice, and fifth could be your teaching or any other avenue like higher studies, right? So considering, assuming here that most of the people would be interested in job in the initial phase or after becoming CA. So the things left are industry, IB, PE, and the consultancy. So as I said, there is no right or wrong answer to any of the discussion that we are having. So I think firstly figure out what. Also, I missed out one option, which could be working in a practicing firm, like maybe a big four or a consultancy firm, or like being the core finance, doing the audits, taxation part, and all those things. Firstly, figure out what you don't want to do. So during my articleship, I realized that now it's not the audit with which I am resonating. So I decided before giving my CA final exams also that I want to be continuing in audit. I would see whether I want to go for consultancy or I want to go for industry. I would be very frank with it before giving my exams. Literally, I don't have much clue about the options after CA. These consultancy, IB. I was only aware of the options of people go to industry after becoming CA or they work in the existing CA firms with which they are affiliated before becoming CA. So when I became CA, I was exploring several options. I was discussing it with my seniors. I was jotting down the pros and cons. So let's say if I talk about industry, pros would be you get a holistic view of how the organization works. You are working at a more responsible role. You have a kind of defined role. There would be a fixed kind of, there would be certain set of things you would be doing. You would get I would say a permanent, not permanent, but maybe semi-permanent working circle. There would be certain teams in which you would be working for, let's say, 1 year, 2 year, and it's that your initial package industry might be higher than your consultancy package, or maybe your existing CA firm package. Industry usually offers a bit higher package. If we talk about consultancy, the pros would be more interaction, maybe like more personality development at a more holistic level. Third benefit would be developing good understanding of diverse business models, because your client keeps on changing, your team keeps on changing. So, like inherently, you become a diverse personality to deal with different set of people, to adjust yourself in different working environments. Cons might be the working hours might be high. Cons might be, let's say, the working style that consultancy has. Like it involves a certain amount of traveling. It involves like certain amount of here and there changes, which might not suit your work life style, right? Third might be IB or PE. I think IB or PE is completely dependent upon your interest in it. So I didn't give much interviews for IB or PE. I think I didn't give any after becoming CA, because I was not having that inclination towards going to IB or PE. If you have that passion, okay, you want to play on the sell side, you would be interested in dealing in cracking the deal between the investor and between the fundraiser, then go for it. If you have really the interest in it. Again, for like PE, these are the core finance fields, and I would say go for it only when you're getting front office or the, like in the back office, you will be doing the research kind of things. You will be doing the analysis on your table. You will not be interacting with the client. It will only be you and your internal team. So yeah, go if you're going for it, then go for front office or the mid office. Cons might be, as far as I have heard, working hours for IB or the PE are like huge, even like more than consulting. One of the major pros for which people go into IB and PE is the packages in IB and PE are very, very high. And the variable is like almost 70 to 100% of your fixed salary. So there are certain things you can evaluate the pros and cons for each of these fields. But I think at the end, if you're not sure where your interest lies, just start, speak to your senior, ask which is the most safer option to go for now. Like why I choose consultancy was like, it's a very growing field, right? You are working in different business environment. You are getting exposure to different industry. You know about different business models. So let's say if a consultant wants to go into a business, into an industry, and he or she has worked in that industry, that there are very good chances that they'll take into it. Even if he or she has not worked in a particular industry, but the interviewer would know that person has made strategy for different companies. That person has solved the problems of different companies, and that person would be able to contribute to the company. So for me, consultancy was a very growing, was a diverse thing. That's why I went for it. But some people are interested to go for industry because they have that, entrepreneur mindset, or not entrepreneur, but I would say they want some kind of stability in life. They want to live a life, where the things are certain. They have a time to come and go. Although I know there is a lot of pressure in industry also nowadays. I mean, work is everywhere, right? So the only lever that is left to make is where your interest lies and what best suits your work, that best suits your work style, that best suits your personal lifestyle, I would say. Everyone has different set of goals, the kind of life that they want to live. So accordingly, make your decision. And also there's another, like the government job. You can prepare for exams like SEBI, NAFRA, and also there are vacancies for CA Niti Aayog too. So you can search for it. I'm not sure about the details about it, how the process goes, but I know the fact that there are certain vacancies for CA in these departments as well. So like some of my friends are interested in government jobs, so they are preparing for it. So yeah, that is also certain revenue. I mean, have the details of everything, whatever options are available to you, and then make a informed, wise decision basis all the evaluations.
Okay, thanks for that. The next question will be, how did you prepare for your interview and group discussions also?
Okay, so consultancy interview is different from the normal interviews. So, like in the normal interview, there would be one online test round. Then there would be a GD, and then there would be a personal round. Maybe with the CFO of the company or maybe some senior level management. So for the online aptitude rounds, I think there are several sites on which you can prepare for online aptitude. You can give multiple mock tests, sample tests, and these are enough. Like you will qualify after that. The second round is your GD round. The best way to practice for GD round, like the group discussion, could be to make a group with your friends and try discussing about some of the hot topics, some of the trending GD topics. Another thing, if you don't have a group, maybe you can try practicing in front of mirror. You can judge your expressions. You can judge the words that you're using to start a conversation. And there are certain rules of GD, right? You should not cut anyone's line. Still, you should be polite in your keeping your argument. Like, I agree with this, but I think this should be, and dash. So, just think of these jargons that you should use in the GD and certain rules. And there are certain marks for initiating the group discussion. Right? They have a scoring card, whosoever will be judging your GD, right? So, yeah, try to initiate the conversation. But again, like if you are initiating the conversation, you should initiate it with a good content. On the internet, you can find all of these rules. And if you have the contact of someone who came in your GMCS or who come in your orientation training, speak to those teachers because they are part of several campus placements. So they might actually help you to prepare for the same. After group discussions, you would have the direct one-to-one round with the company's senior management, or maybe one round could be HR. So if it is a HR round, I think there are certain set of questions that they'll ask. Okay, what are weakness? What are strengths? Why do you want to go for a job? So these are the standard questions that you should always be prepared with. Why you want to come to a particular industry? Why it's only our company? So these are the certain set of questions that you should always be ready with after becoming CA. The specific set of round with the senior management of the company, I think that is where the decision is taken. So let's say you are giving interview for Nestle or you are giving interview for HUL. Go through their website. What are the products? What are the services? Remember some of the names of the products. What has been the challenges that the company is facing since past 1 year? What has the company done well in the past 1 year? Read the annual report of these companies. How has they been performing so far? Okay, is there any tax litigation? If you know something really great about a problem that the company is facing, discuss about it. Okay, I just got to know that actually HUL or whatever company you are interviewing with is facing a problem, and I think the potential solution could be that. So your solution might not be well, but at least you know the problem and you are trying to solve for it. So that also leaves a good impression. Always remember some of like the key revenue numbers of the company, the profit margin that they earn, and the major sources of revenue for them. And if they're going to come up with a big project or a new project, also keep that in mind. They might ask you certain questions around, Finance Act. So for you, it would be the previous Finance Act only. So always read all the amendment that has came in the latest Finance Act. They might ask you that. Okay, and also companies are much interested in knowing some of the tax hacks. So they might ask you, okay, if this is the situation with a company, what could be the best way to save the tax? What would be the provision that you can apply? So yeah, reading the Finance Act could be one thing you can do. and stay updated with the news, with the updates, specifically which is relevant to the industry to which the company belongs. So these are the normal things that you can prepare for every interview. And some of the things like the GDP rate, inflation rate, how the Indian economy is performing, how the world economy is performing, what are the market sentiments. So currently market is very unstable. It's not going up since long time. It comes down, then it again goes up. So it's somewhere around like 55, 56, and no one is like earning much in today's market scenario. So they might put you a question. Okay, why do you think market is not stable? Or what do you think when the market would be stable? What would be the moves in the market that would make it stable or that would make it growing? And in this situation, what do you think? Is it the right time to purchase the stocks? Is it the right time to invest in mutual funds? As a CA, we are expected to have some level of knowledge of what is going on in the market. So you have like certain view around the same, read about it. Okay, when would market go up? What is the likely causes of instability in the market? And all those things. Whatever is going around you in general, having the knowledge of the same is very important. And one more thing I tell you, let's say you are going for an IB or PE interview, and you don't know much about it, or you are not much interested in it. But maybe you remember certain things about it. So usually in an IB or PE interview, and I think even a normal interview, they might ask you, okay, Kritika, do you like investing? The point you say that, okay, yes, I like investing very much. They'll ask you, okay, what was the last stock in which you invested? What was the last mutual fund in which you invested? So never lie around these things if you have not invested it before. And if you invest but not that much, you might say, okay, I do invest at times, but I do invest in mutual funds, in very selected mutual funds, or I only invest in indexes. I don't have much updates about how the movements in the stocks, so I don't put my money there. So when it is about the IB or PE interview, I would say don't lie if you don't know a particular thing, because they go very deep when it comes to stocks, when it comes to investments. In the consultancy interview, it would be entirely different. They are not much interested in knowing your personal biodata or your personal profile or whatever you have done. Because honestly speaking, in consultancy, you don't apply your CA knowledge back. Once they like your CV, they know whatever you have done till now, and then they would test you whether you are able to solve a particular problem. So let's say if you are being interviewed in a big three or maybe in a big four consulting or any consulting firm, they might ask you, okay, estimate the number of ice creams being sold in Delhi at India Gate on a particular day. So that's the type of question they ask you. This is a estimate. They might ask you, okay, your client is an automobile manufacturer and they want to enter into EV market. So you have to draft a business strategy for it. So there are certain books, IMA case books. There is AT Kearney case book. There is ISB case book. You can Google it, you will find it. So you can prepare for case interviews like this.
Okay, that was really amazing. It will be very much helpful. I would request any questions from the audience also. Anyone? From the whole of the session, you can ask the questions if anyone has any questions. Online participants?
I have a question. Hello, Nandini. This is Arpita.
Hi.
I'm a chartered accountant. I just wanted to know the problem which I faced, like a revision one day before your exams. I think the whole journey of 4 or 5 months is apart, and a day revision is much crucial to get the success on your CA. So can you highlight something on that?
Yeah, I think very relevant.
Especially the topic direct tax.
Sorry?
Direct tax.
Yeah, I was coming to that only. During my direct tax papers, I literally did one of the risky things. So I didn't know how to study, like what to study before that one day. So there was direct revision 7 to 8 hours marathon video of Atul Agrawal, and I have seen his revision during the 4 to 5 months. So I was well versed with his style of teaching. So my DT paper was, let's say, on 9th July, and I was watching his 7 to 8 hours marathon 7th July night. The day I came back after giving my first paper, in the night I was watching his entire marathon video. I completed that marathon video, and I literally that I have revised like 60 to 70% of the important provisions of the Olympics. After that, on 8th July, whatever time I had, I was revising whatever I have written in my diary. These are the important topics, or these are the critical topics, some critical penalties, some critical time limits that I have to remember for exams. I revised entirely those topics that I had upon my mind in my diary. Now, besides this, what time I left, I tried to solve one question, one numerical question from each of the topic, like one question from PGBP, one question from charitable trust, one question from some international text chapters, was around, I think, transfer pricing. So by this, I completed all of the important topics. I was able to study all the important sections, limits that I have time to study. And I also did one of the questions from each of the chapters, so that I have the presentation skills in my mind. That's how I'm going to present my answers in the paper. So that was my strategy one day before DT exams. Marathon might or might not work for you, but I think if you have studied from a teacher and you are well versed with his teaching style, then I think going for a 7 to 8 hours marathon, which covers 70 to 80% of the major things, is a good option. I think if I would have gone for revising by myself, I might have got bored, or I might have spent 1 to 2 hours on a topic which was not required, which usually happens. When we start studying DT, I don't know, time flies. Like we spend sometimes 1 to 2 hours on a single topic because it interests us. When we don't realize the time is slipping up. So for DT, I think this is my learning from entire DT journey. It's required to manage time. It is required to prioritize some of the topics and accordingly, plan for it one day before exams.
Your basic highlight is like covering practice.
Yes, you're audible.
So your basic highlight is like going through the provisions which on the prioritized topic and then covering the numerical from each topic.
Yeah, not for topic, but some of the important topics. Like in our paper, first question is PGBP, then there would be a question on charitable trust. There would always be a question on transfer pricing. Like these are the no regret topics that are going to come in exam. So it's better to have a hang of how you're going to write it.
You already had a frame of mind before you had a frame of mind or frame of plans before you started your preparations of examinations.
Sorry?
You already had a frame of mind. How will you prepare? What is your prioritize? What topic you will prioritize first in your revisions?
Yeah, I planned it during my second revision, that what would be my priority chapters, what are the questions that I'm going to solve in every revision. But for one day before exam, I think the marathon thing came like 2-3 days before only. And I really like the idea of revising my DT one day before from the marathon. So I went for it. I think sometimes it's good to hear your instincts rather than the certain which are there.
What about your theory subjects? How did you manage? Did you make yourself notes or some other strategy was there?
So here is the most interesting thing. I am not a notes person. I have never made notes for subject. So it's like for audit, for law, I have always underlined it in my book. So I would tell you a fun thing that happened with me. A student asked for the notes after my results. And me and my brother replied, we don't have notes, we always study from books. And then student asked, okay, just courier me your books. And we couriered our books to the student. And he was like, it seems like you haven't studied. It seems like you haven't studied this book. There are only few underlines. It's such a clean book. And then we were like, I have seen students who underline everything in the book. Now, if you underline everything in the book, how would you identify what you are supposed to read, what you are not supposed to read? So I only used to underline the really important things that I'm going to revise, the really key words of the chapter. So that was my style of studying. Now coming to your point, one day before exam, so for audit, as I told you, I had made a list of topics that I'm going to read one day before the exam. Once I have done those topics, then I have sorted other list of topics like the B category. Then I'll do that. And if I have the time, then I'll go for the C category. But I think for one day before exams, it's really important to be clear about what is more important to read and what is not more important.
Thank you, Nandini. I've already cleared my CA panel examinations, but I regret today why didn't I listen to you beforehand? Lovely answer.
Thank you.
So thank you, Nandini. So thank you for all the answers. The best thing which I take from this is that consistency and the passion matters the most. And thank you for all the wonderful answers. The whole JPNR family is thankful to you. I would like to call Niraj sir for the last concluding remarks.
Thank you very much, Nandini. So I have jotted down few points. So before we conclude this session, so I think अगर एक लाइन में मेरे को पूरा नंदिनी को डिफाइन करना होगा, तो जैसा उसने सोचा और जैसा उसने प्लान किया, वैसा उसके साथ हुआ. ऐसा क्यों हुआ? तो उसका उसने बहुत अच्छा आंसर दिया है, एटीट्यूड एंड पैशन. What your attitude is and how much you are passionate about. तो इसमें एक पॉइंट बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट होता है. मैं भी चाहता था मेरा रैंक आए, मैं हमेशा चाहता था रैंक आए, लेकिन आया नहीं. तो ये जो एक डिफरेंस निकालने का जो पैटर्न है कि आप जो सोचते हैं, what you plan and what you do in actual. नंदिनी, इसमें बताओ इसको कैसे और कब मेजर करने की जरूरत है कि मैं मुंगेरी लाल के हसीन सपने तो हर दिन देख रहा हूँ कि बस अब आज तो बैठेंगे और सारा सिलेबस कंप्लीट, और रात में पता लगा कि अभी 2 पेज पे ही हम लोग अटके पड़े हैं. ये एक रियलिटी चेक क्या होना चाहिए?
As I said, you should set all milestones. So अगर आपको 9 months है पढ़ने के लिए, इंटरमीडिएट में हमारे पास 9 months होते हैं, so maybe you can set a milestone कि 1 महीने के एंड तक ये 2 सब्जेक्ट्स कंप्लीट करना ही है. And you should be very hard with yourself कि 2 सब्जेक्ट्स करना है तो करना है, whether रात को पढ़ के करना है, दिन में पढ़ के करना है, doesn't matter, because no one is going to come to us and force us. At this level, parents भी इतना हमारी पढ़ाई नहीं समझते हैं, and they also don't want to force us for these things. So we have to force ourselves कि मुझे करना है तो करना ही है. Like I think I have been quite hard with myself with these things. अगर मैंने target set किया है, I always try to ensure that I have achieved this target or I am before the target. So वो target set करना बहुत important है. And target भी realistic target. As I said, हर दिन का एक planner बनाना चाहिए कि इस दिन पे ये 2 चीजें करनी है. I am not defining मैं किस time पे पढ़ूंगी. I am just defining कि मुझे ये दिन में ये 2 outcomes achieve करने हैं. मुझे 2 chapters complete करने हैं. If you have that thing in your mind, rather than a open plan कि नहीं मुझे आज पढ़ना है. Like पढ़ना तो बहुत कुछ हो सकता है. Certain होना कि ये पढ़ना है और ये complete करना है. That I think really helps a lot.
Correct. So it means कि आज से ही हमें अपना डेली प्लानर आपको क्रिएट करना ही पड़ेगा. There is no excuse of that. क्योंकि ब्रॉड ऑब्जेक्टिव बहुत क्लियर है, सीए बनना है, लेकिन वहां तक पहुंचने के लिए मीटर आज से चालू है हमारा. So I think day wise planner जो आइडिया नंदिनी ने दिया, that is excellent. Second thing, Nandini, generally I think people are confused for one thing. Late night study or get up early, start your day early, and then you start your study. Any view on this?
It depends on you. Like for me, I am a late study person. I can never wake up in the morning at 5 a.m. मतलब मुझे बहुत नींद आती है, अगर मैं 5 बजे उठ जाऊंगी. I can study till 2 a.m., 3 a.m. in the night because एक तो रात को बहुत शांति होती है. So for me, it's a very productive time. And I used to wake up at like 8 a.m. in the morning. And दिन का time I believe थोड़ा unproductive होता है, especially the 2 to 5 वाला time खाना वगैरह खाते हैं हम, तो वो थोड़ा slow time होता है. But I think the hack of that could be doing the practical subject. जब हम practical subject करते हैं ना तो बहुत interest आता है, calculator use करते हैं तो हम थोड़ा active रहते हैं, तो नींद आने के chances थोड़े कम होते हैं. So do practical subjects in the midday time, and morning या फिर evening जो भी आपका best productive time है उसमें आप theory करो. You would be able to remember lot more as compared to midday.
Good, very good. So I think this is also very already Nandini told about mock test paper, so I think that is very clear on that. Apart from that, Nandini, this is again my question to you, that you talked about personality development, also using of concepts during your articleship, and one more thing she has told very categorically, that when you do any kind of work, like you are doing tax audit, in fact many of time I have also told you that when you do any audit, any return filing, then use all those practical concepts and theoretical concepts together. So I think that is very important. Second, Nandini, I want your view on particularly on this part, like you were doing audit, correct? And you started your classes with SFM subject.
Yeah.
This is the tradition, I think, I don't know, I have qualified in 2008, और उसके भी पहले से ये tradition चला आ रहा है that we do. Nandini, we have time of 5 to 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. So, please, I'll request you, please have water.
Yeah.
Yeah, please have water. No problem. We'll wait for a minute. Not an issue.
Yeah.
So the point is, do you think that when we are doing our articleship, like if we'll take example of our firm, so we have some people are working in GST, some people are working in income tax, some people are working in audit. So do you think that your classes should also match with these subjects what we are working in the office? Like if you are doing audit, why not I should start my classes with FR? Why not I should, if I want to take classes of audit subject, then I should start with audit. So at least it will give you theoretical knowledge also from expert with practical knowledge. Like if our articles are doing classes, they are doing work in GST, then why not to first take tuition of GST? But old kind of tradition is coming, नहीं amendment आ जाएगा, वो लास्ट में टैक्स बढ़ा है तो वो सेक्शन में चेंज आ जाएगा. तो मेरा यहाँ सोचना ये है कि how can you be so sure कि अगर आपने फाइनेंस एक्ट 2022 पढ़ा है तो जब तक आप सीए बनेंगे उस दिन तक भी आपको 2022 ही पढ़ना पड़ेगा. हो सकता है अगर आप फेल हो जाते हैं तो आपको 23 भी पढ़ना पड़ेगा, 24 भी पढ़ना पड़ेगा. तो क्या लगता है इसमें कहीं ना कहीं एक इस थॉट प्रोसेस में चेंज आने की जरूरत है?
I think that's a very good idea that you have put. We can actually try doing that. And I don't know, like there may be two sides to it. Text में amendment आता है, वो सबसे बड़ा fear होता है, because of which people keep the text classes at the end. But I think, as you suggested, if a student is doing articleship from taxation, so I think it might be a good idea to take text classes side by side. And I will not lie, I have seen few people doing that in my circle. So I just asked one person, why are you buying tax classes now? Like it's just the start of the articleship. And he replied me that I am doing my articleship from tax and it would help me to leverage the tax knowledge in the articleship. So I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And maybe after like 1 year, you might take FR. And actually that logically makes sense. So you are not doing your articleship from financial reporting. So if you will take it now, there are good chances at the end of 3 years, you might forget it. So it's better to keep FR in the like next 1 year or maybe 1.5 years once you have done your tax. And also there's a tip, like when you are doing an articleship from certain thing and you are also studying it side by side, it also helps you to excel it in a great way. So when you come to your principal with a great provision, with something that that person don't know, that leaves a great impression over the client as well. I mean, the people around you, your team leader always respect you. You beat the expectations when you actually set the standards rather than just following the standards. I still remember when I was doing the text audit. So I was reading about text provisions, and I was actually kind of debating with one of the partners of PwC on the text, one of the text laws. What should be the ideal feature? And I think it's a very healthy practice to do, and it really leaves a great impression over your partner, over your client. And for the same, I also received the appreciation from the client. There was an email of appreciation of partner. So I mean, always try to go beyond what others are doing to set the standards.
Correct. So I think this also you can market in your next session wherever you go. Okay. So my next question: have you gone through new syllabus what the institute has proposed?
The new syllabus, or you're talking about the new scheme?
Yeah, new scheme only. Yeah.
I have gone through half of it, like not full. Yeah.
Okay. So take it. उस पे अभी बात नहीं करते हैं. Okay. So how sure you were about your rank or rank 1?
I had always planned for a rank, I would say, but when I gave my mock test papers, as I told you, I was barely passed. So my expectations came like little down. I discussed it with my teachers, what could be done. So they were like, if you work on it now, you can get a rank. There are good chances you can get a rank. And then I worked upon it. The exam got postponed. Then I thought, okay, up to I can prepare for a better rank, for a single digit rank. So I would say for CA final, my aspiration was a single digit rank, maybe in the top 10. But before the CA result day, I think it might happen with every student. We feel like very scared, and we literally pray to God कि बस CA बना दो, बाकी का देख लेंगे. I just want to become CA. So उस time I was also having the same thought कि I don't want to study for next 6 months. I have done great, but it's okay if I just become a CA. So I would say I was quite positive about getting a rank, a good rank. But yeah, getting the higher one is something that cannot be expected in advance.
Okay, so explain that moment when you came to know that you are rank 1.
It was an unbelievable moment for me. Like, firstly my brother saw his result. We checked, he has got rank 18. Then we saw my result. It was 614 marks. And then we checked the result. It was rank 1. It was like a dream for me. I literally checked it twice, right? I was screaming in the house. I told my parents were crying. So it was a really one-off moment for me. Like, how could it come true? For me, like for my family, it was like, yeah, one is something illusionary thing. I don't know कैसे आता है लोगों का. We were having that kind of thinking. जब तक नहीं आता सबको ऐसा ही लगता है. So when I saw that, I think it was a magical moment, and I think that moment really changed my life. My complete life changed from that moment. My house was flooded with reporters day by day for the next week. Like the reporters literally stayed in my house. From the morning, they will start taking my interviews. They continue till 4 or 5 p.m. I was not getting time to prepare for my job interviews. So yeah, it was a completely different life that I was living for that month.
Okay, so hope so that ऐसी और success तुम्हारे पास आती रहे. Okay, so any plan for any higher study like MBA or UPSC or something else?
I'm still thinking over it. I'm not sure what I would go for, but yeah, I would like to go for further study, but I'm not sure what it would be.
Okay, Nandini, your brother is also now CA. He also qualified with you, so please convey our greetings to him as well in person. Now you can give on behalf of entire JPNR family, and please give our all regards to your parents as well. I think they deserve a big round of applause because as unke karan I think today you are 20 and 20-year-old girl जो आज इतना अधिक motivated, इतना अधिक clarity with thoughts and whatever you have told, I think कहीं तुमको ये सोचने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ रही है कि मुझे ये बोलना है या नहीं बोलना है, and this can only happen when you live with that. So please give our regards to okay, so any question you think that our team has not asked you and you have answer for that?
I think no, your team was literally very interactive. It is one of the most interactive session I have done till now.
Okay.
Round of applause to your entire team as well. I think they have covered everything, whether it's about articleship, study, or maybe the career path. And if anyone have any other question that they were not able to ask today, they can reach out to me over LinkedIn. Sir has my number, so maybe we can plan any further sessions if it is helpful for all of us. And to invite the JPNR family for having me, for giving me this opportunity to start with Calcutta articles. So I think this is my first session that I have done with Calcutta firm or any group from Calcutta.
Yeah. So we are always first. We always take first mover advantage. So again, yeah. Go ahead.
And I wish next session or next interaction would be in person, so I would be able to try some Calcutta food things.
नहीं मेरा next question यही था. So have you been to Kolkata any point of time?
No.
इधर चली जाएगी नहीं तो. हाँ. से मिल के जाइए. So no, definitely we will invite. In fact, I am a member in couple of our associations. So definitely with your time suitability, I'll definitely would like to see you in Kolkata. So again, our thanks to Kritika, जिसने I think इस पूरे session को organize किया and ये जितने questions थे, I told them very categorically that you prepare in advance so that उस समय अपने को अधिक से अधिक benefit मिले, अधिक से अधिक हम लोग उसको use कर सके. So I think the way you have taken this entire session, Nandini, and one thing I learned that today you told first find out what you don't want to do. So I think this is a great learning for me. And in fact, जब आपने ये बोला तो मुझे याद आया कि why I have taken commerce. So I was very clear that कि जीवन में physics, chemistry, biology नहीं छूना.
This is the reason I also choose commerce, because I was not interested in bio, physics, chemistry.
So I was very clear that I'll never touch geography, history, civics. So beggars are not choosers. So इसलिए decision लेना बड़ा आराम रहा. And yeah, one question मैं भूल जाऊँगा. Who advised you to pursue CA and how you decided that you should be chartered accountant?
So I belong to a family wherein we all have a commerce background. So it's like my grandfather is a LLP, but like we have a tax practice at a home, wherein we do all the GST filings, ITR filings. We also arrange audit for our client. My father is also tax practitioner. So it's like, you know, when I was in 7th standard, my parents had a dream that I should become a CA. And you know, from that point, this dream got more and more firm. When I was in like 10th, then the time came to choose a subject. So as you told, I also applied the elimination technique. I was not interested in bio, physics, or chemistry. I was interested in maths, so I decided to go for commerce plus maths. And after taking the subject, when I was exploring the different syllabus courses, CA, CS, CMA, so MBA as well. So I realized that a CA, like the CA exam is one of the toughest exams of India and also the world. So, and also the avenues that it holds. Like once a person becomes a CA, it's not only the finance field which is open to CA. Nowadays, the CA can go to IB, PE, some government jobs. Like many of the CAs are also working in the World Bank. They are working in some economic planning department. So I felt that there are a lot of opportunities available to a CA, and if you become a CA, it's the mix of other syllabus as well, CS, CMA, and the other sister syllabus. So that's why I decided to go for CA. But I would say the seed was somewhere my mom, who helped us to make this dream more firm that we want to become CA.
Good. So Nandini, my last advice to you, and I think you are already giving back to society what you have earned, and definitely you should also think for future. And do you have any plan that kind of activity you want to pursue where you feel that any kind of social activity or any kind of that, how you can give back to society? Anything you have planned?
I do have some plans over time. I'm trying to build a setup for the same so that I can give back to the society what society has given me. but it would take some time to take it to that level. So there's a certain right time for everything. So I am having something upon my mind, but I think to take it to a big level, I need to build more connections, have a greater network, and maybe certain more improvements in myself as well. So is to help society at large. But yeah, definitely I do have something upon my mind.
Very good, Nandini, and definitely here in Kolkata also we are involved in a lot of these kind of activity. In fact, I'm on personal level also. So I'm associated with NGO called Friends of Tribal Society, which is, I think the chapters are in Madhya Pradesh as well. In fact, I'm going to Bhopal also for our national executive meeting in the last week of August. So there we go to villages, and in fact the Swami Vivekanand ji ने जो कहा कि अगर स्कूल बच्चों तक नहीं जा सकता है, अगर बच्चे स्कूल तक नहीं जा सकते हैं तो स्कूल को बच्चों तक जाना पड़ेगा. And in that concept we created Ekal Vidyalaya. So in that there is a concept of one teacher school, and we prepare, we mentor, we create teachers in villages, and then they take sessions for at least 30 students, 25 students from each villages. तो इस तरीके के कॉन्सेप्ट में आज टुडे वी हैव अप्रॉक्स 1 लाख एकल विद्यालय फ्रॉम जम्मू कश्मीर टू कन्याकुमारी and from your west to east. So I think these are some of the services where we are trying to giving back to society, and the stature and the kind of knowledge you have. So my humble request to you कि आप भी जरूर कोशिश करिए जितना आप इस सोसाइटी को, क्योंकि इंडिया अगर 5 ट्रिलियन इकोनॉमी बनना है तो इसमें कहीं ना कहीं we each one have to contribute. And I think people like you जिन्होंने इस एज में इतना अचीवमेंट लिया है, आपके पास और अपॉर्चुनिटी है काम करने के लिए. तो ये मेरा आपको सजेशन है. कुछ लाइनें मैंने निकाली हैं आपके लिए. खुद की काबिलियत पर भरोसा रख, जो गलती आज की है उससे सीख, मत मांग किसी के आगे अपनी सफलता के लिए भीख. तू जलता हुआ रेगिस्तान है, तेरे अंदर कुछ करने की ठान है, तो रुक मत, तुझे करना कुछ महान है. तू अपने घर वालों की आस है, उनकी उम्मीदों की सांस है, इनको यूं ही नहीं जाया करना, तुझे अपनी सफलता के लिए लड़ना है. तो आई थिंक ऑल दिस लाइन्स नहीं मैंने नहीं लिखा है, ये गूगल से ही सिलेक्शन मैंने किया है. लेकिन ये पूरी लाइनें नहीं पूरी लाइनें आपने जिस तरीके से आज पूरे अपनी बात को कहा, एंड इनफैक्ट आई एम टेलिंग यू वेरी ऑनेस्टली, बहुत दिन से मेरी इच्छा थी कि हाँ जरूर आपसे कनेक्ट करके बात करें, सीखें, समझें. एंड टुडे आई थिंक माय ड्रीम आल्सो कमिंग ट्रू. एंड ऑन बिहाफ ऑफ जेपीएनआर आज हमारे सभी बच्चे बहुत मोटिवेटेड, मैं इनको रखने की कोशिश करता हूँ. इनको हमेशा ये सो जाते हैं, ये बीच बीच में एक स्लीपिंग मोड में चले जाते हैं, तो फिर इनको वापस से हिला के मैं जिंदा करने की कोशिश करता हूँ, ताकि क्योंकि हर कोई चाहता है कि हम बहुत अच्छा करें, लेकिन आप अच्छा तभी कर पाएंगे जब आप जगे रहेंगे. द मोमेंट यू स्लीप आप ऑटोमेटिक उस मोमेंट से बाहर आ जाते हैं. तो इस टाइप का एवरी सैटरडे वी हेल्ड दिस काइंड ऑफ सेशन, जहां पर हम लोग 2-2.5 घंटे 3 घंटे इस तरीके से तुम्हारे जैसे नए लोगों के साथ मिलते हैं, बातें करते हैं, फिजिकल ट्रेनिंग्स भी करते हैं. वी हैव आवर JPNR पोस्ट मास्टर क्लब, जिसमें आफ्टर दिस सेशन वी विल हैव नाउ भी 1.5-2 घंटे का एक कम्युनिकेशन सेशन रहेगा. तो आई थिंक ये सारी चीजों को हम लोग जो है लगे हुए हैं, काम कर रहे हैं, एंड आई होप कि इन सब का रिजल्ट पर जरूर इफेक्ट आएगा ही आएगा. So I think with this, before we conclude this session, so so we have a very special gift for you, Nandini, today online, but that will definitely reach your home. We will share a e-memento with you, and Kritika will ensure कि आपके पास वो e-memento से e-head के memento आपके घर तक जरूर पहुंच जाए. Please share. Are you able to see?
It's loading.
अच्छा, it's loading.
Now I am able to see.
भारी लोग के लिए भारी memento है, तो थोड़ा time लगेगा.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Okay, so the the physical version of the same will be, we will courier it to your home.
Thanks a lot. Very nice.
So I think with this we can conclude this session. Nandini, a big round of applause for Nandini.